The roar of applause surrounded me, loud enough to rattle my bones, but it wasn't for me. Not truly. I stood in line on the stage, my black graduation robe hanging just right, cap secured, the gold tassel grazing my cheek. The announcer called my name, Samantha Reed, Masters in Clinical Psychology. I stepped forward, head high, smile forced. Flashes from cameras sparked in the crowd, but none came from my family. Their seats, 5 in the center row, were empty. Before we dive in, leave a comment below and share where you're from and which city you're tuning in from. After reading this whole story, let us know what you'd do in this situation. Be real. Drop it in the comments. We read every single one. Let's get started. I'd known they wouldn't show. They were probably toasting with champagne flutes right now, fading my younger sister Danielle's bridal shower in my parents' backyard. Still, those empty chairs seared into my heart like acid. I took the diploma folder from the dean, shook his hand, and held my smile until I stepped off the stage. My heels clicked sharply on the floor as I moved to where the graduates were gathering. I opened the folder expecting the official document with my degree. Instead, an envelope slipped out. Plain white, no return address. The paper felt thick, expensive. My name, Sam, was written in a familiar, tidy script. For a moment, I thought it might be from a professor, but my fingers paused. The crowd's hum faded, replaced by the sharp buzz of my phone in my pocket. I pulled it out. 72 missed calls, all from Mom, Dad, and Danielle. The buzzing didn't stop as I stood frozen, my thumb hovering over the envelope's flap. My stomach knotted, my breathing grew shallow. "Sam!" A voice snapped me back. It was Rebecca, my closest friend from the program. "What's wrong? You look pale as a ghost." I shoved the envelope back into the folder, my pulse racing. I don't know yet." My phone lit up again, another call. "Dad." I declined it without a second thought. Rebecca's brow furrowed. "Why aren't you picking up?" "Because whatever it is," I glanced at the crowd, the lights, the noise, "it'll ruin today, and I'm not letting them have that." The words tasted sour but felt true. I wouldn't let them steal this moment. Not again, but the phone kept buzzing, names flashing like a warning sign. My skin prickled, my hands sweaty. I could feel the envelope pressing against my arm through the folder. By the time the ceremony ended and we stepped into the bright afternoon sun, I'd made up my mind. I was going to open it. I moved away from the chatting graduates, the smiling professors, and the rows of parents snapping photos. I found a quiet corner of the building, the air cooler here, shadows slicing across the brick. I slid my finger under the envelope's flap and pulled out a single folded sheet. 4 brief lines in that same neat handwriting. As I read them, my heart stopped. My legs nearly gave out. For the first time all day, I understood why they'd called 72 times. My hands shook so hard I almost dropped the paper. The handwriting was precise, steady, but the words hit like a punch to the stomach. "Samantha, what you don't know will change everything. Your grandmother's estate was never split. You're the sole heir. Call my office now, before they do. Miriam Turner, attorney at law." I read it once, twice, 3 times. My pulse thundered in my ears. I hadn't even known my grandmother had an estate to split. My parents always said she died with nothing but debts. They'd even chuckled about it, like the woman who raised my father was a burden, not family. But this was real. The weight of the paper, the careful script, the name at the bottom. I knew Miriam Turner. She'd been my grandmother's lawyer for years, and that phrase glared like a spotlight, "before they do." I didn't need anyone to tell me who they were. My phone buzzed again. Mom. I stared at the screen, her thumbnail photo, smiling from her garden like she hadn't shut me out of every family milestone for years. Rebecca stepped closer, voice low. "Sam, what's in it?" I shook my head. "I can't." My voice broke. I cleared my throat. "I think my family's been lying to me for years, and now they know I know." Her eyes widened. "What do you mean?" I stopped as the phone buzzed again. Dad, then Danielle, then Mom, relentless. My hands grew clammy. This wasn't them trying to congratulate me late. This was fear. Panic. I shoved the letter into my bag, grabbed Rebecca's arm, and started walking fast toward the parking lot. The June sun burned my face, but my blood ran cold. "They'll come here," I muttered. "If they think I'm with people, they'll try to trap me. I need to get out before they find me." Rebecca's heels clicked as she hurried to keep up. "Sam, you're freaking me out. What's happening?" I stopped by my car, gripping the handle but not unlocking it yet. I looked her in the eye. "They've hidden something from me for years, and whatever it is, it's big enough to make them ditch Danielle's party and call me 72 times in 3 hours. Rebecca's brows knitted. "So, what's your plan?" My stomach twisted. The smart move was to call Miriam Turner right away. But a darker part of me, still raw from every slight, Every missed milestone wanted to make them sweat, wanted to see them squirm like they'd made me squirm. The thought was thrilling and terrifying. I unlocked the car, sliding into the driver's seat. My phone lit up with a text from Mom. "Don't sign anything. Don't talk to anyone. We're coming to you now." I stared at the words, my breath shallow. They knew I had the letter. They knew I could unravel their secret. Rebecca leaned against the passenger door, studying my face. "Sam, you can't face them alone if they're this desperate." I looked across the parking lot, half expecting my dad's SUV to come tearing in. "I'm not going home," I said firmly, "and if they think they can control me like before, they're about to learn how wrong they are." Because for the first time, I had power and I was going to use it. I didn't even make it out of the campus lot before I saw them. A familiar black SUV rounded the corner too fast, tires screeching as it pulled into the lane ahead. My stomach dropped. Dad was driving, Mom in the front, Danielle in the back, all three scanning for me. "Damn it," I muttered, ducking slightly. I turned the key, engine roaring, and tried to back out. But the SUV slowed, blocking the aisle, making escape impossible. Rebecca, now in the passenger seat, glanced at me. "Sam, that's them, isn't it?" I gripped the steering wheel. "Yep, and they're not here to cheer me on." Dad's window rolled down, his voice booming. "Samantha, pull over, we need to talk." His tone wasn't worried, it was urgent, commanding, like when I was 12 and had crossed a line. I kept my eyes forward, pretending not to hear, but Mom's voice cut through, sharp and shrill. "Don't you dare walk away, this is serious." My pulse pounded in my temples. I could feel Rebecca's eyes on me. "Sam, what's your move?" she asked quietly. I exhaled slowly. "My move is not letting them box me in like some scared kid." I opened my door and stepped out. My heels hit the pavement hard. Every nerve buzzed as I walked toward their SUV. Dad killed the engine, got out, and strode toward me. He didn't even say hello. "Where's the envelope?" Straight to the point, no pleasantries. I tilted my head, forcing a cold smile. "Funny, I don't recall telling you about any envelope." His jaw tightened. "Don't play games, Samantha, you don't know what's at stake." "Oh, I think I do," I said, my voice low but steady. "In fact, I might know more than you'd like." Danielle got out too, her perfect white dress from the shower wrinkling as she crossed her arms. "Sam, don't be dramatic. Just give it to Dad and let him deal with it. You'll mess it up like always." That stung, but I didn't flinch. "You mean like I messed up by earning my master's while you all made sure I was left out of every family event?" Mom stepped forward, her voice slipping into that fake sweet tone she used to make me cave. "Honey, this isn't about the past. This is complicated. It's about the family's future." I let her words hang before saying, "Whose future? Yours, Danielle's, or mine? The one Grandma chose to leave everything to?" The flicker in her eyes confirmed I'd hit a nerve. Dad took a step closer, his voice low and threatening. "Listen to me. That letter isn't a prize. It's a burden and you're not equipped to handle it. Give it to me and we'll make sure it's done right." Rebecca stepped up beside me, arms crossed. "Or she could call the lawyer herself since it's addressed to her." "Crazy thought, right?" Danielle scoffed. "Stay out of this, you're not family." The tension coiled around us like a rope. Cars slowed to watch. Students pretended not to stare. In that moment, I decided I wouldn't back down, not here. Not ever again. "You've ignored me, lied to me, and humiliated me for years," I said, my voice firm. "So if you think I'm handing over the first thing that's truly mine, you've forgotten who I am." Dad's nostrils flared. Mom's face paled. Danielle's mouth dropped open. I stepped back to my car, my heels clicking like a full stop. "I'll be in touch," I said, slamming the door. Rebecca's voice was low, tight with adrenaline. "Sam, they're not going to drop this." "I know," I said, pulling out and glancing past the SUV. In the rearview, I saw them standing there, three people who never feared losing me, now realizing they might. Rebecca and I didn't talk much as I drove out of the lot, but the silence was heavy. My grip on the wheel was tight, and every glance in the mirror showed the same black SUV trailing us. "They're following us," Rebecca said finally. I didn't look over. "I know, Sam, they're really following us." "I know," I repeated, jaw clenched. "They think if they stay close, I'll get tired, pull over, and give in." Rebecca shifted, glancing back. "They underestimate you." I gave a dry laugh. "They've underestimated me my whole life." I turned onto a side street, acting like I was heading for the main road. But instead of hitting the freeway, I swung into a busy grocery store lot and parked beside a delivery van. I killed the engine, signaling Rebecca to duck. The SUV cruised by slowly, Dad craning his neck. They didn't spot us. When they vanished onto the main road, I exhaled. "Okay, that buys us a few minutes." Rebecca sat up, brushing her hair back. "Where to now?" "Straight to Miriam Turner's office." I said without pause, before they realize I'm not heading home and try something else. As I pulled back onto the road, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. If you go to her, you'll regret it. D. Danielle. I handed the phone to Rebecca so I wouldn't reply. Read it. She did, her eyes narrowing. Wow, she's not even trying to be subtle. She never had to be, I said. They've always assumed I'd fold. We drove in tense silence for 15 minutes until I pulled into a small brick building with a gold plaque. Turner and Associates, attorneys at law. I grabbed my bag, the envelope inside heavier than ever. As I stepped onto the sidewalk, my phone rang again. Mom. I let it go to voicemail, but as I reached the door, a black sedan screeched to the curb. Dad stepped out before it fully stopped. Sam, wait. His voice carried across the street. I ignored him, pulling the door open. But before I could step inside, he was there, his hand on the doorframe, blocking me. You don't want to do this, he said, his voice sharp. I met his eyes. You don't want me to do this? Mom appeared by the car, looking more rattled than I'd ever seen. Please, sweetheart, let's talk. You don't understand how complex this is. You've had years to talk, I said, and every time you chose silence. Dad's jaw tightened. You think you're ready to handle that estate, the debts, the legal mess. You'll sink, Sam. Rebecca stepped up. Or maybe she'll do just fine without people trying to drag her down. Mom's eyes narrowed at Rebecca, then flicked to me. You're being manipulated. I almost laughed. By the one person who actually shows up for me? No, that's your specialty. I stepped forward, forcing Dad to move his arm and push the door open, but his voice stopped me. If you do this, Sam, we're done. The words were sharp, final. I turned, meeting his stare. My heart pounded, but my voice was steady. You were done with me the day you decided I wasn't worth showing up for. I walked inside, the glass door closing with a sharp, satisfying click. The law office air was cool, smelling of polished wood and paper. A receptionist in a navy blouse looked up. Can I help you? Yes, I said, steadying my breath. I have an appointment with Miriam Turner. Samantha Reed. She checked her screen, nodded, and pointed to the hallway. She's expecting you. Those words sent a chill through me. Expecting me. This meeting was in motion before I even knew it existed. Rebecca squeezed my arm as we followed the receptionist. Miriam Turner's office door was open. She stood behind a mahogany desk, silver-haired, sharply dressed, holding a thick folder. Samantha, she said warmly, gesturing to a chair. Please sit. I sank into the seat, clutching my bag. I just got your letter. I know, she said, folding her hands over the folder, and I know your family likely tried to reach you first. I gave a dry laugh. You could say that, she nodded as if expecting this. Then she opened the folder and slid a stack of papers toward me. Your grandmother's estate is significant. Properties, investments, cash assets. She named you sole beneficiary in her final will, signed 8 months before her death. My throat tightened. But they told me she died broke. Her eyes softened. They didn't want you to know. The will was challenged right after her passing. Your father and his sister filed claims, but they were denied. Since you thought she had no estate, you never claimed the assets. They've been waiting. I stared at the numbers on the page, more zeros than I'd ever seen tied to my name. There's one more thing, Miriam continued. Your grandmother wrote a letter with the will. It's personal. She handed me a cream-colored envelope. My hands trembled as I opened it and unfolded the page. My dearest Sam, I know they've made you feel like the quietest voice in the room. You were always the one I trusted. The only one who saw me for me, not what I could give. This is yours because I know you'll use it well. Don't let them take it from you. I swallowed hard, my vision blurring. Rebecca leaned in. Sam, this changes everything. I looked at Miriam. What happens now? You can claim the assets immediately, or we can arrange a formal reading of the will with your family present. Her lips twitched. That tends to clarify things. I didn't hesitate. Set the meeting. 2 days later, we were back in the same office, but now Mom, Dad, and Danielle sat across from me. The tension was so thick you could hear the air conditioners hum over our breathing. Miriam read the will aloud, each word shattering the lies they'd built. When she finished, the silence was deafening. Dad's face turned a deep red. This is absurd. She can't. She can, Miriam cut in smoothly. And she did. The court already dismissed your earlier claims. Mom's lips pressed into a thin, white line. Danielle's eyes darted, calculating. I set my grandmother's letter on the desk, my voice calm but sharp. You told me she had nothing. You watched me struggle through school while hiding this, and now you want me to believe you care about my well-being? Mom's voice cracked. Sam, we were trying to protect you. No, I said sharply. You were protecting yourselves. They had no response. When the meeting ended, Miriam slid the final papers to me. My signature was clear and confident. It was done. As we stood, I met Dad's eyes one last time. You were right about one thing. This is the family's future. The difference is I'm not giving it back. Rebecca and I stepped into the sunlight. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. We need to talk, please. I turned the screen off without replying. For the first time in years, the silence was mine.